Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 40 of the Stitching Between Pages podcast. Can you believe it? 40. I hadn't even realized, and then I went to look on my YouTube page to see when, what the last number was, and it was episode 39, which makes this episode 40. Anyways, I'm Robin. You can find me on Ravelry as HalfPast92 and on Instagram as Medievalisting. And today is Friday, July 13th. I feel like I might be tempting fate by trying to film and upload an episode on Friday the 13th. But anyways, here I am. It's only been 3 months since you last saw me, or thereabouts. I think it was March-ish. Yes, because it was right before my birthday. So yeah, so that's pretty great. Anyways, here I am today to film an episode. I'm afraid I'm just drinking water with some lemon in it because it is too hot for anything else. Although I say that and I've still been drinking hot coffee every morning. So, what can you do? I just don't like iced coffee as much. I wish I did. It would be more convenient for the summer, but it doesn't have, I don't dislike iced coffee, but there's something about hot coffee in the morning that just is better at, starting my day. Anyways, I have absolutely no show notes today, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to give it a shot, but I feel like I have a lot of things to show you, most of which you have not seen before, and I think a lot of which I have not shared on Instagram, so I kind of wanted to keep it secret. Not secret, but you know what I mean. Keep it a surprise so that when you watch the podcast, you didn't feel like you'd seen absolutely everything already if you follow me on Instagram. So before I get to that, I guess I should say, if you follow me on Instagram, you will already know this. But on Wednesday, Wednesday just gone, July 11th, I passed a major milestone in the PhD program. The way PhD programs work in the US is that generally you have a couple of years of coursework, and depending on what you're studying, you have to pass some language exams. Medievalists tend to have a lot of those. I passed language exams in French, German, and Latin. And then in your third year, which is the year that I have now finished, you take what are called comprehensive exams or qualifying exams. So basically, all of this year, I have been reading pretty much a book or two a day, every day, and then I took these 3 big exams, which I have been terrified of since I started the program. This was the year that I was most apprehensive about. But it's over. I did it, and I'm so excited. So I wanted to share, that's the big exciting news. You can't see it, and I'm not going to turn the camera because it did not want to sit still. It didn't want to be in the right space. My tripod kept having problems. One of the legs kept collapsing. So I'm not going to turn my camera, but just to the other side of this white bookshelf behind me, I have a chair that looks like the chair that's there with all my handbags on it. Usually I move that chair. Didn't do that today. Remove the handbags anyways, but I'm sitting in front of it, so it doesn't matter. Don't know why I'm telling you all of this. Anyways, there's a matching bar stool chair on the other side of the bookshelf that has it has 2 very tall piles of books on it, probably about 40, and that's only a fraction of the books that I have read this year. So anyways, I am now taking several days totally off, and it's amazing. I think I sent 1 email yesterday that I had to send, and then I sent 1 sort of school-related email today as well. But other than that, I am taking pretty much an entire week just to do what I feel like doing, read a novel again, in a couple of days, not a few pages each night before I fall asleep, and it takes me 3 weeks to read a novel. But anyways, more about novels in a little bit. But I did want to share that big news. So I'm now officially ABD, all but dissertation. So now I get to go start writing my dissertation, researching and writing, which is sort of the big book length project that is the whole reason I got into the program. You know, all of these other things have been useful and beneficial, but this is the research and the writing of a real original piece of scholarship is why I got into this whole crazy thing to begin with. And now it's finally here, and I'm sure you can tell that I'm really excited about it. Kind of, you know, I've woken up the past 2 mornings and thought, oh my gosh, it's really real. I've really made it through every other milestone of the program. I am all but dissertation. So I'm sure there will be more to come about all of that. But you're not here for any of that. You're here for the knitting. So I guess we should start with some of that. I have, unfortunately, no finished objects to show you, although if you watched the previous episode, I made a bunch of really tiny baby things, finished all of those, sent them off. Little baby has arrived. He is the cutest thing going. I'm generally not terribly, babies aren't, I don't really know what to do with babies, but this little one is just adorable, and so loved, and I'm so happy for my friends. So those have all been finished and received, of course, just in time for the UK to be hit by a ridiculous heat wave. Summer in Chicago has actually been we've had a few really hot weekends, but on the whole, it actually hasn't been too bad, which is great. I'm really enjoying, I've, you know, spent some time on the beach, I've gone to some of the neighborhood festivals, really trying to enjoy everything that summer in Chicago is all about, because I was in Europe last summer, which was spectacular and amazing, but it did mean that I missed Chicago summer, and summer in Chicago is pretty great. You know, it gets cold and snowy here in the winter, and then I think people really take advantage of the summer. That's still not knitting. I'm still not talking to you about knitting. Let's see here. No finished objects. So I think I will just dive into some works in progress. I know if you've watched for a while, you've seen this little pouch before. I think it's supposed to be like a makeup bag or something. Anyways, it says, "You must not ever stop being whimsical," which is a Mary Oliver quotation. She is one of my very favorite poets. If you don't know her, I highly recommend checking her out. I'm sure I've talked about her on the podcast before when I've shown this. She recently came out with a collected anthology. So many of her works, many of her poems, her most famous poems. It's called Devotions, and I have it, and I've been sort of reading it slowly. So anyways, in this lovely little pouch, I'm knitting socks again. I have not knit socks in quite some time. I had no sock mojo to speak of, but then for my birthday, hang on, before I show you the socks, I will show you these. My parents got me these Flexi Flips by Addie. They're 3 double-pointed needles that have a short cable in the middle. They look like this. And you get 3 of them, so you have your sock on 2 and you knit with the 3rd one. And I'm really enjoying them. It's sort of the good things about DPNs and the good things about Magic Loop without, you know, if you're knitting a sock on DPNs, you have to switch needles, you know, either 3 or 4 times, depending on if you have your sock stitches on 3 DPNs or 4 DPNs, without the sort of loop of cable that comes with Magic Loop. And I'm really enjoying them. I think my only complaint is, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell, but one of the tips is sharp. Yeah, you can tell. One of the tips is sharp and the other is less sharp. And I wish that they were both the sharper tips. The less sharp tips are not bad. This is not, you know, it's just that I prefer the really sharp tips. But it's nothing that, you know, I just sort of am particular and when I start knitting, I knit with the sharper tip. So anyways, let me show you the socks. I literally just this morning, because I have time on my hands to do things like knit in the morning right now. Oh goodness, it's amazing. I just did the heel flap and the heel turn this morning. And it's been so long since I knit socks that I was I finished the leg and then I didn't knit on them for a while because I was worried that I'd forgotten how this works. It really has been probably a year, maybe longer, since I have 3 or 4 pairs of socks that are languishing unfinished because I just completely lost interest in sock knitting. But I wanted to cast on something after I finished all those little baby knits. I wanted to cast on something that would be small and quick, and I wanted something new. Didn't feel like any of my whips were, none of them were really calling out to me to be completed. Hopefully they do someday though. So I cast on these, and they are the Drippity Drop socks by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I think this is the first time I've knit one of Kay's patterns, which seems ridiculous, but is true. Anyways, they're wonderful. I know Kay and Dan often say on the Bakery Bears that, you know, they really enjoy sort of a 4-row simple pattern repeat, that it's really the recipe for speedy sock knitting, and I agree. It's just a slip stitch pattern, but it was really easy to memorize. And the camera is not doing justice to these colors. The light in here is kind of weird. It's a little hazy outside. So we're doing the best we can. I really wanted to film today. I'm supposed to be doing all sorts of other things like dishes, vacuuming. Decided I'd rather sit down and film a podcast. So here I am. There's a reason you can't see the floor in this video. There's lots of cat hair everywhere. I really need to vacuum. Anyways, that was a whole little tangent. So it's the Drippity Drop socks by Kay Jones. And just a really simple slip stitch. And then I followed her directions for the slip stitch heel flap and the heel turn. This lovely little bee progress keeper was sent to me years ago now, probably 2, maybe 3 years ago, by Danny of the Little Bobbins podcast. Oh, that's so cute. And now it's not focusing. Tiny little bee. Anyways, it focused earlier. You could see it earlier. Oh, nope. Camera is not at all interested in focusing on it again. So, yep, this is the first sock. Oh, that's pretty good for the colors. This is the first sock. I cast them on a while ago and then didn't knit on them, as I said, for quite some time, partially because I was afraid I'd forgotten how to do the heel flap and the heel turn and the gusset, but also partially because I was just swamped with getting ready for my last exam. But that's over now. So I'm hoping that I can make some serious progress and maybe finish the first sock this coming week. The yarn, here's the skein. Yay! The yarn is Misty Alpaca hand paint, which is, as you can see, because it chose to focus this time, 50% alpaca, 30% merino, 10% silk, and 10% nylon. It's super soft. Actually, when I bought this yarn, I wasn't totally sure about the colors. Like, I like the colors. I would say the main color is a really soft gray, but then there's some lavender and some deep plum and a kind of olive green and a lighter and a darker, what I would describe as French blue, but I don't know if other people, does that description mean things to other people? Or is that just something I've decided, that kind of soft gray blue is French blue? Anyways, the color color name is Eiffel, color HS43. And when I bought the skein, I wanted to try Misty Alpaca sock yarn because I know a lot of people really love it. But I wasn't totally sure when it was in, you know, just a hank. I wasn't totally sure about the colors, but as I started knitting it up, I love it. It's kind of stripy, but not really stripes. And I think the slip stitch pattern has just done such a great job of mixing the colors in a way that's really, really pleasing. I think these will be super wearable socks. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about them. I'm really enjoying the needles, like I said. Oh, I guess I should say they are US 1s, 2.5 millimeters. You probably saw that when I showed you the this label. But yeah, yep, it's my standard sock needle size has always been a US 1, 2.5 millimeter. So those are my socks. Let me put them back in their bag. And my other work in progress, and this is terrible. I blocked it last night, which I almost never do. I actually I'm not sure if I have ever blocked a work in progress before. But I wanted to, first of all, see what the lace looked like when it was blocked. I also knew that I was going to film an episode today and wanted you to see what the lace looked like when it was blocked. And also I'm slightly worried that I don't have enough yarn, even though I did not 1, not 2, but 3 gauge swatches to make sure that I got gauge. I don't think I've ever struggled quite so much to get gauge, but I did in the end. And according to the pattern, I have enough yarn. But I'm really not sure if I actually do. So I wanted to block the lace to see roughly how much length blocking would add. I knew it would be at least a little bit, and it was. And yeah, so anyways, this is, oh, everybody is knitting this or has knit it or wants to knit it. And I have such mixed feelings about patterns that are really popular, you know, that it's like, did I just jump on the bandwagon? Do I actually like this pattern? But it has been out for a long time now, and every time I see one, I think, ooh, I really do love that. It is something that I would wear, and I have, you know, if you've watched the past couple of episodes, you've probably gathered that I have really enjoyed garment knitting lately. I actually have an unfinished, my deco cardigan is still unfinished, oh no. But anyways, I've come to really enjoy garment knitting, and so I decided to cast on the, here's the question, is it Tegna? Is it Tenya? I'm not sure. Anyways, you probably all know now exactly which pattern I'm talking about. It's by Caitlin Hunter, I think, Boyland Knitworks on Instagram. I definitely know that she's Boyland Knitworks on Instagram. I think her name is Caitlin Hunter, and if I'm wrong, oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. I should have made show notes. Anyways, let me show you. I have knit all of the lace. Oh, it's still slightly damp too. This is terrible. It's just so humid outside that we're in the midst of a warm spell that it's mostly dry. I would say it's only very slightly damp still. But here is, I have knit all of the, oh gosh, this lace was so much fun to knit. I loved every second of it. So I've knit the lace bottom. It's obviously knit in the round, bottom up. And now I have probably 7 or 8 inches of stockinette to go before I separate for the sleeves. And I have some ideas of what to do if I run out of yarn. Hopefully I won't. Like I said, I got gauge and I have enough yarn to knit the size that I wanted to knit. I'm knitting the small, I think, not the smallest size, but the second smallest, to give it some, you know, lots of positive ease, which is how it's supposed to fit. And on the off chance you're not familiar with it, it is a slightly cropped, short-sleeved top, and I think it just looks so good. I have so enjoyed seeing other people. If you watch other podcasts, lots of other people have been knitting this, and obviously, I hope her name's Caitlin Hunter, because now I've said it 7,000 times. And somebody's car alarm is going off. That's lovely. Summer in the city. Anyways, her patterns have been just so hugely popular. I love a lot of her color work. But I really liked the simplicity of, just sort of this lace and then, just a simple stockinette the rest of the way. So I'm actually knitting this on, I believe these are, they don't say. I think they're US 6s, which is a 4mm, I believe. And I believe the pattern recommends US 3. So you can see that it took me some swatching, and she does actually say on the Ravelry page for the pattern that her test knitters had sort of a wide variety of needle sizes to get gauge between, I think, a US 2 and a US 7. So I'm somewhere within that range. It just, took me a little while to find it. So I'm glad I did a gauge swatch. Because in the past I've done one or maybe two, and sort of quickly hit on the correct gauge. But this, I don't know. It just took forever. So here's what's left of my first skein. And it is, I actually bought this yarn for something else, but then I think I bought it for a breathing space, and then I decided that I would rather knit the Tanya, who knows? So it got repurposed. It is Valley Yarns Charlemont, which is 60% merino, 20% silk, and 20% polyamide. So it's super drapey, which I think is perfect for this top. And as you can see, 439 yards, so it's on the finer side of fingering weight yarn. The colorway is, a real original name here, light gray. So I'm gonna cake up this skein probably as soon as I finish. I'm going to be in the car for some time this weekend, so rounds and rounds and rounds of stockinette are perfect car knitting. So I'm really looking forward to getting some of that in. So I'm gonna cake this up. Hopefully I have enough. Like I said, I have some ideas about what to do if I don't. But yeah, I really can't say enough good things about this pattern. I've so enjoyed knitting it, and I'm looking forward to knitting the rest of it and then hopefully wearing it. I think it'll be really pretty over jeans, or maybe on top of a dress. I don't know. We'll see. I think it is really versatile, which is always a great trait for a garment. But still, it has this sort of simple and pretty lace detail. I'm sure that, if you've seen other people knitting this, you've heard about the dreaded knit four together. Honestly, not that hard. It's a little fiddly, but there's not that many of them. I think there's only maybe 5 or 6 rows that have them. So if you're intimidated by them, I would recommend not being intimidated. And there are, if you search through the projects on Ravelry, there's a sort of trick that people have put in their project notes for making it easier. I actually didn't do that. I just knit 4 together. But if that's something that intimidated you, you should know that there's a way to work around it. And otherwise, it was just it starts out over about 20 stitches, the repeat, and then ends up being over, I think, 14 by the end. You decrease from the cast on edge to where you start the stockinette. And so it's the perfect length of a repeat to be easily, by the time I'd done it twice, I had it memorized for the rest of the round. And there are not a ton of rows that are just knitting, but there's enough sort of simple rows that it's not overwhelmingly complicated, I don't think. So if you are, I wouldn't recommend it as a first lace project, but it's definitely not a super advanced lace project either. And it had been a while since I knit lace, so it was really nice to get back to it. I think that's all I have to say about that. I am going to, hopefully it will finish drying quickly. It's almost there. I meant to block it earlier yesterday evening, but then, you know, the day happened and I didn't get around to doing it until like 9:30 at night. So it's now about 1:30 in the afternoon. So never mind, never mind. Okay, that is all of the knitting that I have for you. I'm trying to think how best to go about this. I have so many other things to show you. But if you were just here for the knitting, that's it. That's all I have. I do have, I guess I technically was not telling the truth when I said that I had no finished objects. I have no knitted finished objects to show you. I do have some spinning finished, well, one spinning finished objects. I finished a skein of yarn. Yay! If you follow me on Instagram, I posted about this. I am delighted with this skein. And I think that now that I have shown it to you, I am going to try to decide what to cast on. I'm guessing I haven't done anything. I have no idea how many yards I have. I'm guessing it's a sort of worsted-ish weight, DK-ish weight. It's not perfectly even. My spinning is still not, it's still far from perfect, but it's not, it is better than, like, each skein does get better, even though I took almost a year off. I started this a year ago probably, and finally got around to finishing it. And I taught myself how to chain ply in the process, which was really great. So I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos on chain plying, and none of them were great, honestly. There's a lot of videos on chain plying on a spinning wheel, which is great if you have one, but I don't. I spin exclusively on 2-drop spindles, and so that was sort of the first frustrating thing. Then there were lots of videos where the spinner's hands were totally obscuring anything, or everything. I also found a lot of videos where it seemed like it was just too much information. You know, it's nice to know that you want to sort of keep your tension and, you know, everything has a name, but if you don't know what those names are, you know, if you don't know what a plying triangle is, then that word or those words are totally unhelpful. And I found it really, really frustrating. Then I realized that it's called chain plying because it is like making a crochet chain. And I decided that I was just going to give it a go, and if it went terribly, it went terribly, and I would put it aside and watch some more videos and figure it out. But it didn't go terribly at all. It went fine. It's really easy. I don't know why I was so intimidated by it. And it was like a block that, you know, sort of these videos that made it seem really complicated. And this is, so, okay, let me go on a little tangent here. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot with teaching college students, or any students at all, although my classroom experience is university students. How much information, you know, do you really need to know to be able to get started, right? You're not, knowing more information does not necessarily help you get started more effectively. And sometimes knowing less information and like walking into the shallow end of a pool makes it seem less overwhelming than if somebody dumps a bucket of water over your head and pushes you off the diving board into the deepest part of the pool. You know, it's better if you sort of wade in slowly and get used to it. Although having said that, I actually at a swimming pool prefer to just jump in and get wet. But that's beside the point. I'm talking about pedagogy, teaching methods, not actual swimming in swimming pools, although I would love to be at a swimming pool right now. It is hot. So anyways, I just went for it, and you know, if I may say so myself, this is not too shabby for a first effort. Let me untwist it. I love the colors, and the reason I wanted to chain ply this, because I think you can tell it's sort of, there's oranges and purples and greens, and I just knew I didn't do any sort of color management as I was spinning the singles. So I knew that if I didn't do something when I was plying, if I just did a 2-ply, it would look really messy. And so I'm so glad that I figured out how to chain ply, because I think it's beautiful. So this is, oh, that's not gonna happen while I'm talking. The fiber was, or is, I guess, Malabrigo Nube, which means cloud. It's 100% merino in the PA Dress colorway, which means stones. I bought this fiber in Brooklyn in 2015, and it's now 2018. So it took me, I started spinning it last year. So it hung out in my stash for a while. But I'm really pleased with the final result. So if you have any recommendations for things to knit with not a huge amount of worsted weight yarn that would work well for slightly uneven hand spun, let me know. I would be grateful for any recommendations that you have, because like I said, I think I want to knit it straight up. I don't want to let it hang out in my stash. I was thinking some sort of cowl, perhaps, but I'm not sure. And I would love something. I really need to figure out roughly how much I have, which would not be a difficult thing to do. But I would love to do something that uses all of it or most of it. Cause yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It's really nice to make something that makes you feel proud of what you've made. And I am proud of this. So that's that. And then I started spinning something new. Yay! So this is, I will show it to you. It's on my Shocked drop spindle. Ooh, yay, look. Oh, I love the colors. I'm sorry, the light is just really not great today, but it is what it is. And it's sort of yellows and pinks and purples. So the fiber is, I think I have about 2 ounces in this bag. It is, I bought this ages ago, like back when I started spinning. And unfortunately, I'm going to show you, it's from Narwhal Needlework. And she, as best I can tell, is no longer dyeing yarn and fiber. Why won't you focus? There we go. Narwhal Needlework. The colorway is Harvest Festival. It's 100% merino. 2 ounces, like I said. And she put them up, did all of the preparation in these lovely little, she calls them, or called them, tarts. So it's just pencil roving. Let me see if I can. So it's like ready to spin. I don't have to do anything except pull one out and spin it. And they all go, nope, that's not true. Most of them go from yellow sort of through pink to purple. Some of them have a little bit of purple on the outside. I'm just looking. But they're so cute and it's so much fun. I've only spun maybe 4 or 5 so far. I really have not done a whole lot with this. But it's really fun. Look, they're so fun. I have a bunch of fiber, but I'm a very slow spinner. I have sort of not going to get a spinning wheel, so I'm on, just using a drop spindle. So it does take me some time, and I don't tend to I tend to want to spin regularly, but I don't tend to want to spin for as long as I'm happy to sit and knit for hours and hours and hours. But spinning is a little bit more sort of physically involved, and so I don't tend to, a spinning session for me does not last quite as long as a knitting session does. I'm not doing, if you are a spinner, it's currently the Tour de Fleece, spinning every day along with the Tour de France, the bicycle race in France. I'm not doing that, but I'm really loving seeing everybody spinning on Instagram. It's been really inspirational. And perhaps after I finish this, I might do some spinning, actually. I've been knitting all morning. I have to vacuum first. There are other things that I need to do for real before I can sit down and spin, but maybe that's what I'll do. So that is my spinning. Okay, on to the next craft. I feel like, now that I suddenly have a little bit more time, like I said, I'm taking some time off, but then I think I can sort of go back to, I'll probably still work every day, certainly every weekday, but probably on the weekends too. But I'll be able to take some more evening time off than I have been, which is really great. But I feel like suddenly I have all of this inspiration and all of this like creative energy that it can finally let loose. I've kind of not been thinking about, purposefully blocking off thinking about creative projects while I've been in this final push to get my exams done, because I just knew that all I would want to do is knit or spin or sew, and really I had to focus. So anyways, last time I think I talked about the Good Intentions Stitch Along that was run by Chrissy, who has the Chrissy Crafts podcast, and this took me practically no time at all. I loved every second of it, but I wanted to show it to you just quickly. I'm not actually, it's still in the hoop, or still like unfinished. I'm going to just leave it in the hoop and hang it up when it's done. But it's still in the hoop because I can't decide if I want to put some more little flowers up here. But the more I look at it, the more I think that it's done. So the idea was that you put a good intention in the middle. Mine is be curious, because that I think fits well with who I am and what I do and what I'm about. I think the world would be a kinder place if we were all curious about each other instead of just writing everybody off based on, a snapshot view of what they're like or one opinion. I think if we were all a little bit curiouser and a little bit kinder, the world would be a better place. So this is my reminder to myself to be curious. And then, oh gosh, I'm not sure if I've said on the podcast before, but I love French knots so much. I think they are so much fun to do. I had the good fortune to learn how to do them from my mother, who also loves doing French knots. So this was like the perfect, I just had so much fun with this little floral corner. And I'm almost tempted to get like a tiny embroidery hoop and just do a whole hoop full of these little wagon wheel roses and the little French knots. There's a few lazy daisy leaves and petals on there, and a little vine stitch greenery. I think a whole little hoop full of that would be just the most beautiful thing. So maybe I'll go to the craft store sometime soon and pick out some pretty colors and get a little hoop. Anyways, I wanted to show that to you guys. Be curious. And that's, I guess, sewing related. So I feel like this podcast just, it's fine. Like I'm not, I'm still going. I'm not gonna, stop filming and start over. But I feel like it's just been kind of like a rush from one thing to the other. Anyways, I have also been sewing. And oh man, I cut out 2 things. I hate cutting out. It's my least favorite part of any sewing project. I don't like it. I don't have a good big surface that's at like a height, so I cut out on the floor. So it's like I'm crawling all over my apartment floor, and it's just, I always find it so fiddly and boring, and I don't know. It's any sewing project, I just don't love cutting out. So I cut out 2 things, one after the other, without doing any sewing, because I figured, you know, while I sort of had the was in the mindset for cutting things out, I may as well just go for it. And I actually just got some new fabric scissors from Amazon, just Fiskars, nothing fancy or special, but they are much better than my previous fabric scissors. So that has helped, although it's still not great. So one of the things that I cut out is, and I can't remember if I showed this, it would have been last September. This is a skirt pattern from République du Chiffon, which is a French pattern company. The skirt, it's the Annette skirt, the jupe Annette. The pattern is all in French, but it's fine. I've been, so far, have run into no real challenges that sort of my own French and the internet can't help me solve. You know, if I think I know what a word means, but I'm not sure what it means in a sewing context, there's a couple of helpful websites that have translated a bunch of French sewing terms. So I'm making this. I didn't bring it over because it's kind of unwieldy, and sewing in progress does not look nearly as nice as knitting in progress, honestly. It's, you know, and there's so many unfinished edges, and I have a bunch of pins. I've just gotten to the point of sewing these big deep pleats. So I have them, the pleats are pinned, but I pinned them yesterday, but I wanted to take a look at them, you know, make sure that I hadn't accidentally pinned one pleat pointing one way and the other side pointing the other way. So I just haven't actually sewn them in place. But it has these big pockets, really deep pockets on the side, and I just love, it's a midi length skirt, and I think that's such a wonderful length. I think it's flattering on me, and I think it's, you know, I find it really comfortable because I can sit down and not worry about, you know, sort of problems. And I love the buttons. So I'm really excited. I'm sewing it out of some fabric that I bought on the same trip, but in the UK. So it's kind of a memorial, a look back in time of my trip last summer. So that is in progress. And the other thing I cut out was the Grainline Studio Hadley top, and I can't for the life of me find the booklet or the envelope. All I can find is the instruction booklet. Anyways, I am doing it's a Grainline Studio pattern, and I'm going to do the tank top version, not the sleeves, because it's summer, it's hot outside. I do not want sleeves in my life. So I am going to make the tank top. I think it's a pretty simple top. I don't think it's going to be terribly difficult, but I did bring over one of the pieces to show you the fabric. Look at this fabric. I love it. I love it so much. It is, I think it's called, the fabric is called watercolor pansies. It's kind of abstract splotches of blues and sort of reddy oranges. I love it. This is one of the fronts. I cannot tell you who the fabric designer is. I bought it at a lovely, lovely local fabric shop that I wouldn't say I go to frequently, but I would say that when I need fabric, that is where I go. So as frequently as I purchase sewing things, I am there. If you're in Chicago, it's called Oak Fabrics. It is a wonderful little shop. The owner is a delight. She actually knows me by name. I think this is the first time I've ever had a ever gotten to know a shop proprietor to the point that they know me by name, which is really nice. And yeah, so this is, once I finish the skirt, I will sew up this Hadley top, which I'm really excited about. I'm hoping that, now that I have time, sort of these 2 sewing projects won't take me too long. I will say I am a little bit apprehensive about the buttons, much as I love them. So I have a Kenmore sewing machine that I got from my mom. I remember when she got it, it's probably 20 years old. Certainly at least 15. And it does not do buttonholes very well. So I think I'm going to sew them by hand. I found some video tutorials that are really helpful. I think one of them might be on Craftsy. It might be a free Craftsy tutorial. And I have a bunch of the same fabric that I used. I have a bunch of scraps, so I'm going to use some scraps and just practice the buttonhole stitch. And sort of making sure that the buttonholes are all tidy and as they should be. But I think that's obviously the very last step on that skirt, so I can have Hadley on the go while I'm doing those buttonholes. The next thing I'm going to make is, and I have not cut this out yet, but I did bring the fabric over to show you. This is the Colette Patterns Dahlia dress, which is, I just love the scoop neckline with the gathers and the sort of quarter length sleeves. I'm going to make, obviously, this version with the sleeves. Not obviously. I am going to make this version with the sleeves, not the strappy version. I will get more wear out of something with sleeves. I don't tend to wear sort of sleeveless things, certainly, but strappy things much less frequently. And this will be the second Colette pattern that I've made. I made the, oh no, what's it called? I looked at it, should have written it down, should have made some show notes, Robin. The Myrtle dress, there we go. I made the Myrtle dress for my birthday, not, 5 months ago, or 5 months ago? Can you do some math? 3 months ago. April was 3 months ago, not 5. Not my most recent birthday, previous 2017 birthday, and loved it. It was a well-written pattern. It was super easy, and just a really enjoyable thing to make. So I'm hoping that this will be the same. And I looked at a bunch of Instagram photos, and it looks really good on people. So I'm gonna make it out of this fabric, which is from Atelier Brunette, which is a French fabric company. And I bought it at their shop in Paris last summer, and it's beautiful. It's sort of a navy blue with little gray and a few gold little pairs of dots. So I'm really excited. I think I bought enough for a dress, enough for this dress. So I'm really excited about that. So that is what is up next. I think that is all of the crafty stuff I have to talk about. Yes, so let me tell you about some books. Because I feel like I've been going on for over 45 minutes now, and I'm, sort of don't want to keep this going on too long. So the current thing that I'm reading, I started it yesterday and read 100 pages, and I'm so excited to read some more today, is Michael Ondaatje's, and if I pronounce that wrong, I don't know what to tell you. I have never said it out loud before, so there we go. Anyways, he wrote The English Patient, and that's probably what you would know him from. This is his new book, Warlight. And I've just started it. Well, just started. I've read 100 pages. And the only other thing I've read by him is The English Patient. But he just has such such a way with words, and sort of every word is clearly carefully chosen and perfectly chosen. And the premise is really intriguing, so let me read for you. In a narrative as mysterious and luminous as memory itself, Warlight is a vivid, thrilling novel of adventure and love, intrigue, and desire. It is 1945, and London is still reeling from the Blitz and years of war. 14-year-old Nathaniel and his older sister Rachel are seemingly abandoned by their parents, left in the care of an enigmatic figure they call the Moth. They suspect he may be a criminal, and grow both more convinced and less concerned as they get to know his eccentric crew of friends, men and women with a shared history, all of whom seem determined now to protect and educate, in rather unusual ways, Rachel and Nathaniel. But are they really what and who they claim to be? And how should the siblings feel when their mother returns without their father after months of silence, explaining nothing, excusing nothing? A dozen years later, Nathaniel begins to uncover all he didn't know or understand during that time, and it is this journey through reality, recollection, and imagination that is told in this magnificent novel. And it's just, I'm really, really enjoying it. I hope that the rest of it is as good as the first 100 pages. So that is what I'm currently reading. But what I really wanted to talk to you about is a book that I have finished. And that is, oh, hi, Noise. Hello. Oh, come up. I was wondering if she was going to come out to talk to you. I have a closet, a big closet over here. And I put one of their little beds in the closet because one of her Vivi Grace likes to hang out in the closet, and I thought, oh, I'll put a little bed in there. And they both hang out there all the time. I'm not sure if they like it's kind of dark and safe. Anyways, Holly Noise, look, it's all your fans. Oh, life is hard, human. Life is so hard. Oh, everything is dreadful. But we've been doing so much sitting on the sofa and knitting, and it's so hot outside, and you insist on sitting on my lap like a furry blanket. Are you a furry blanket? You're a furry blanket. Great. Will you sit on my lap now so I can talk about this book? Okay, ready? Look, lap. Yep, there we go. Great. Oh, not sure what to make of this, human. Oh, everything is in an uproar. Why is everything in an uproar? Great. Now I've just talked to my cat for 10 minutes. Anyways, I wanted to tell you about The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, which is, it was everywhere when it came out. And I went into the bookstore multiple times, picked it up and read the back and thought, oh, this sounds wonderful, and then put it down, didn't buy it, didn't read it. Wanted to let the hype die down, because sometimes I think books can just be so hyped, and then you read them and they just don't quite live up to your expectation. This one really did. I loved every second of it. And my mom actually read it. I bought it. She and my dad were in town in May for my dance studio's annual dance recital. They came down, which was really nice, and we got to spend a long weekend together, which was really special. But I took them to one of my favorite bookstores in the city. If you're in the city, it's Women and Children First in Andersonville. It's spectacular. Anyways, and I realized that The Essex Serpent was finally out in paperback, so I bought it. And I was in the checkout line, and my mom, was like, oh, what did you find? And she read the back of this, and I don't think she bought it that day, but it didn't take her long to buy her own copy. And then I talked to her, a few weeks later, and we both finished reading it, and we just kind of incoherently, for 5 minutes or so, we're just like, this is the greatest. It was so good. So let me read the back for you. London, 1893. Seeking refuge after the death of her husband, Cora Seaborn departs for coastal Essex. Once there, she hears rumors that after nearly 300 years, the mythical Essex serpent, a fearsome creature that once roamed the marshes, has returned. Eager to investigate, Cora is introduced to parish vicar William Ransom. As they attempt to discover the truth, these seeming opposites find themselves inexorably drawn together, and as their pursuit becomes more urgent, Cora's London past follows her to the coast with striking consequences. It's so good. Cora is sort of one of those characters that just leaps off the page. You just immediately feel like you know her, and you can, I found it really easy to sympathize. She's sort of a scientifically minded, very curious kind of person, sort of always seeking out answers and wanting to figure out what this Essex serpent is. And then, of course, she meets William Ransom, the parish vicar, who is who tends to think about things in sort of a more religious way. And sort of the way that they interact felt so real and also so meaningful. And it's Sarah Perry's writing is just astounding. Again, it's different from Michael Ondaatje, but again, it's words that are so carefully chosen, and it reads. This book came out 2 years ago. I will tell you. Copyright 2016, 2 years ago. But it reads like something that was written in the late 19th or early 20th century, but not in sort of a forced way. It seems very clear to me that this style comes naturally to Sarah Perry. And if you're at all interested in sort of the late 19th century or 19th century natural history, or I don't know, beautifully written stories. It's not a short book, but it flew past, and I was sad when it was over. It's a really, I don't know, I almost wish I'd found like a paragraph or something to read to you. But it was so good. I highly recommend it. So that's The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. And that, I think, is going to be all that I have for you today. So, like I said, I need to do some householdy chores. But that's all right. I've been very productive over the past couple of days in terms of knitting and reading, and I did a little bit of spinning yesterday. I've done a lot of things. Unfortunately, none of them have been vacuuming. I also have to do my dishes from lunch, and I just put all of that off because I decided I would rather come talk to you all, and I have had so much fun, as I always do. I don't expect to be back on sort of a twice monthly, bi-weekly recording schedule. But every time I sit down to film a podcast, I remember how much I love it. It always feels a little bit like I'm talking to old friends. And I'm so glad that some of you, still watch and still care to, catch up on what I'm knitting, what I'm up to. So yeah, I think that's about it. I think that is about it. I hope you all, if you are in the northern hemisphere, I hope you are all keeping cool. I know it's been really hot in a lot of places. And if it's anything like Chicago, it's not cooling down as much at night, which makes it really hard. I don't so much mind. My apartment has no air conditioning. I do have a window unit, but I almost never turn it on, just because it's expensive, and I'm fine and the cats are fine. But I'm less fine when I'm trying to fall asleep and it's really hot. So yeah, keep cool, drink lots of water, do what you can to stay cool. Although I'm sure that all of you, like me, are still knitting anyways. It might be really hot, but it's never too hot to knit. Maybe knit something summery. Oh, speaking of knitting summery things, I did not show you this. Terrible. This is one skein. I bought a bunch, enough for a tank top, probably, maybe a short sleeve top, depending on the pattern. This is cotton cashmere, from Concept by Katya Yarns. This is color 65, and as you can see, it's this sort of French blue color that I really love. Okay, somebody please tell me, is French blue an actual color description that describes this color? Because I have always described this color as French blue, and I have no idea where that came from. I said that I described a color as French blue to somebody, and they were like, "What now?" So it's made in Spain. I had no idea. I bought this at Knit One, which is also a Chicago, plug in all the local Chicago businesses. It's a great little yarn store, not too far from Oak Fabrics, in fact. And it is 90% cotton, 10% cashmere. As you can see, I have 50 grams per skein, 169 yards per skein. And I think I have 5 skeins. Anyways, enough. I looked at a bunch of patterns on Ravelry, and it seems to be enough to knit a tank top, maybe a short sleeve top in my size. But I have never knit a garment from cotton, so I've been sort of apprehensive about, I know, we're all about wool, but I've been kind of apprehensive about picking a pattern because I want it to look nice, obviously. I don't want to knit, something that needs the characteristics of wool, wool's sort of bounciness, and wool springs back in a way that I think other fibers don't necessarily do. I have only ever knit like washcloths from cotton. So if you have any advice or any patterns that you would recommend, or any techniques that you would recommend staying away from, or things to look for when you're knitting a pattern out of cotton, let me know, because I'm a little bit out of my depth, but it is really soft. And I feel like it will make a really great summer top. Unfortunately, there are not too many projects on Ravelry that have been knit out of this yarn, or garments anyways. So sort of searching for that has not proved the most helpful. Anyways, I am obviously going to finish my Tegna Tenya first. That's sort of my priority. I think I do better these days if I have fewer knitting projects on the go. I need the variety of 2 or 3, but much more than that, and I sort of feel a little bit overwhelmed. It's nice to have sort of different crafts on the go, spinning, sewing, to be able to pick up something different. But if I have too many knitting things on the go, I feel overwhelmed these days. There's just sort of so much else going on that it's easiest for me to work on fewer things at a time. So if you have recommendations, let me know. I would be really, really happy to hear them, because I am a little bit out of my depth. And like I said, I want to knit something that looks nice, that is wearable, and not something that really needed to be knit in a wool yarn, but I stupidly knit it in cotton instead. So anyways, I think that really is it this time. I will let you all go, get back to your day. I have to get back to mine. Holly has to get back to her day, important things. Oh, if I vacuum, she's gonna be so mad. Yeah, I know. You don't like the vacuum, do you? No. It really scares your sister. She just kind of jumps up and sits on the back of the sofa and glares at me. Like, how dare you get out this noisy machine? Yes, but if you shed so much. That's why I have to vacuum. Yes, it's because you and your sister shed. There's probably a full extra cat on the floor. We could just could be like one of those little things where you add water and it grows. Yeah. Should we find out? No, let's not find out. I don't want another cat. Oh, I have to share with my sister. That's bad enough. Anyways, I will let you go. Happy knitting. Hope you're all doing well, and I will see you again hopefully sometime soon. All right, bye.